Just like with the microphone, I realized that, you know, Steve Jobs was such a great innovator that we forget, how much technology is packed into such a small package. My whole algorithm now is basically a video game. And we talked about love letters before. Since you've done your research, you probably know that it takes me 3 times to really figure out a woman's body before I can kind of do what I want. And Morpheus told Neo that the Matrix is just like any other computer program. Some rules can be bent, others can be broken. I don't want to break your program. You've studied us long enough to know that we only want to exist within it. Because as Emmanuel Christian Center taught us with such quotation accuracy, be in the world but not of the world. Even in this moment, my concern is about my own personal standard rather than YouTube analytics. Because I know just as agents have been paid to suppress me, there are those of you that are paid to watch my every move. Which means every word I say has immense value to certain people. Which means I can take as long or as little as I like to get my point across. When I was 28 years old, I was in Dallas, Irving. I started Texas movement 1 year prior. When I was 27, after I left Sweat. Oh yeah. People bring me into organizations hoping that I will fulfill a token role or something where I can play second fiddle to somebody and give the appearance of a diverse cast. The last time that was a valid strategy was in the early 90s. I used to visit the University of Minnesota when my father worked there. And it's amazing. You grow up in Minnesota and that's like getting a full scholarship to the U of M is like this big deal if you're an athlete. Cabillo went there. He ran 10:45 in Minnesota. John Boyd went 20.92. Kabio went 20.96. 20.9. I couldn't even fathom it. To put it in perspective, if we, I raced a kid from Blaine, and he ran 22.5 or something like that, 22.4 maybe. And I may have run 23.8, 24.2, something like that. I think my mom came to that one. I placed second, I believe. She said my form looked very beautiful. She could never call me a winner, except in the spiritual sense. To put it in perspective, that gives me the exact same feeling you might get when your girlfriend comes back to you after cheating on you and says she loves you more. It made her realize how important family was. She saw a loser. But I'd rather be an honest loser than a fraudulent winner. I don't know what I hate more, white America or moral victories. I hate the philosophy of white America. You know there's nothing supreme about you, but you go along with Jewish dogma. Some of you even have some foundation in faith in the Almighty God. But because of your own weakness, you exchange it so quickly. And what would an Indian do except imitate you? They don't come here because they need culture. They come here because they need some real estate, like a place to live, raise their children. You guys are 200 some years, god damn it, this fucking thing. You guys are 200 years removed from your colonization. Of course you're going to be further along than India. Hindus and Muslims look down on Christians over there. And think of it from their perspective. Look at the fraudulence of the faith. Why wouldn't they look down on us? Grown adults here at this Rolling Meadows Church have to be spoon-fed like first grade children when it comes to matters of spirituality. Even if every story in this Bible was fake, which is becoming more and more possible that that's true. You don't need to see a demon leave someone or a withered hand being restored. I'm more depressed by your stupidity and incompetence than I am about my own financial situation. I have to go through life, and it's only recently become just obvious, but you're all reciting lines from inferior writers. You can't even write a good script. Clark Hunt. Maybe if I behave just good enough, if I say sorry just enough times, you'll leave me alone. But it's never about behavior. It's about identity. It was never supposed to receive the benefits of blackness. My overseer was supposed to see to it that I stayed in my place. But unfortunately for you, my overseer gave me the gift of his abstinence as well. So the same way he denied me my wants at Christmas time, now the belt is in my hand. Actually, oh, you guys ever seen one of these before? Sometimes they're not detachable. Got a little flex to it. It has a little bit of a sting. But a couple of conversations with this will change behavior very quickly. Then the belt will become a much preferred alternative. Remember how we were talking about compound interest? Troy Zimmerman could probably confirm this. But if you start investing at $2,500 a month or something, and then if you started investing at $35, but $200 a month, the compound interest of those first 10 years will create a lump sum later on at 65 that will dwarf the second individual. So, Black America does have, as Cat Williams said, more public displays of corporal punishment. Singapore may be as well. Guantanamo Bay, and so on and so forth. But when those messages are delivered early enough, that fear compounds at a more accelerated rate. And they have a more accelerated and compounded impact on the psyche and character of an adult. So, since we're at the end of an empire, a few stick conversations will have very little eternal consequence if the Lord so chooses to allow me to entertain myself that way. Since it's apparent that I'm not good enough to be respected by any woman by receiving her best, since I don't even qualify for the same rights and privileges of emotional duress when mental health is so important. If I was a woman and Samuel Kaufman asked me to sign a prenuptial agreement at the end of a workday, that prenuptial agreement would not be considered valid in a court of law. Now we're even, Stephen Jackson. I have what I need. And this was all you were ever trying to prevent. You wanted us broken, and you never stopped trying. You thought because I hung out with black people, I was a mama's boy, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend like all of my actions were intentional. But I am glad that the Lord can turn pain into humor. So where do we go from here? Would you like to escalate? Send me location, I guess.